Hello and welcome to the United Stand. This is our Manchester United versus Swansea tactics download, I suppose. But more importantly, it's also Anthony Martial out of Manchester United, potentially for Gareth Bale, as Jose Mourinho finally makes what many of us have suspected to be the case true when it comes to Anthony Martial. Look, the reality is we're going to be talking a lot of positivity about what Manchester United did yesterday. Did they miss Martial? Did they miss Rashford in that first half? Of course not. They didn't. It was very, very good football. And ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, Manchester United will always come first over any player, any manager. That's what it's all about. And there can be no complaints about that first half yesterday. Granted, it was Swansea, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the rumours in the papers today, and remember it's his April Fool's this morning, and we're not going to throw any of those at you because it's childish. But I've seen people saying Lukaku's out for 3 weeks and stuff like that. It's all nonsense. The Martial for Bale thing is true. There's nothing really else going on with United that's true. So Martial for Bale, there's a big feeling that Manchester United will move for Bale this summer. And obviously if you sign Bale, you've then got 4 left-sided attackers. I mean, the reality is, however you dress it up yesterday, Mourinho picked his strongest team yesterday. That's his strongest team apart from Eric Bailly playing at centre-back and maybe Phil Jones when he's fully fit. But that's his strongest team. Whether you like that or you dislike it, that is his strongest team. So, especially when it comes to the front 4, you've got Sanchez on the left, Lingard centrally swapping with Mata on the right, and Lukaku up front. That's it. Now, does that fit right with you that you've got, a year ago, we're talking about Martial or Rashford, 2 of the best young players in the country, basically splinters on their backside on the bench? I mean, does that sit right with you? Does it sit right with you that Pogba's had to move position to accommodate Alexis Sanchez as well? So, but the reality is that's his team, and in the first half yesterday it worked really, really well, didn't it? And Mourinho, a lot of people say, what's his best team? He doesn't play his best team consistently. Well, that was his best team yesterday in an attacking sense, and you might disagree with it, but at least he's finally coming round to it. So what's happening with Anthony Martial? Well, look, Anthony Martial, no matter what you think about him, has won 3 Player of the Month this season. We've only had 6 or 7 months in it, so that means he's played well in at least 20 games. He scored quite a few goals for the games that he's played. Some people really, really rate him. Some people don't. Make your own choice up. That's up to you. The reality is, I don't think Mourinho really thinks much of him. And we've suspected that for a long time. Mourinho just doesn't think a lot of him. But Mourinho likes 29-year-olds. Mourinho likes short-term, experienced players to come in and do the job. Mourinho hasn't got a lot of patience for development or anything like that. And look, I mean, you've only got to look at Kevin De Bruyne, Mo Salah, even Lukaku in his younger days at Chelsea. Mourinho doesn't like putting the work in. He wants instant success. That's not me being critical of Mourinho, by the way. Everyone knows I really like Mourinho, but that's just what he is. So when it comes to Martial, obviously needs a little bit of work. Mourinho doesn't seem to like that personality. Yesterday, he spoke openly about Alexis Sanchez being really tired. He spoke openly about Lingard being tired, Mata being tired. Didn't even give Martial a minute. Didn't give Luke Shaw a minute. And I think that Mourinho, what will probably happen over the next few weeks is we'll see less and less of Martial as he focuses on the players he wants us to like and wants to do well, i.e. Rashford, i.e. Alexis Sanchez, and Martial will be just pushed out aside, and he will hope that people forget about Martial, then he can move him on in the summer. That's what I suspect is going to happen. I hope it's not going to happen, and maybe I'm like slightly negative because I'm a big fan of Martial and I want him to play, but I think that's going to happen. Whether it's going to be for Bale or not, I don't know. I can't say. But what I do want to do is let's just have a quick look at the comments, because then I want to just have a quick look at well, not a quick look. I want to show you the tactics from yesterday and how it worked, but how it manipulated what we've been doing this season to accommodate Mourinho's favourites. If Jose gets rid of Martial for Bale, then he loses all respect from the fans, says Luca. And a top club has great players even on the bench. Look at Real Madrid, says Chavran. And Mourinho out if he sells Martial, says Robert Mangan. And I will cry if Martial leaves, says Michael Schofield. Martial won the European Golden Boy a couple of years ago. Give it a few seasons and he could be one of the best players in the world. I'd be heartbroken if he left, says Jamie. A lot of love for Martial this morning. Look, hopefully it won't happen, but the reality is, well, we'll talk more about the Bale thing in a moment, because what I want to do is not go to there. I want to go here. In relation to Manchester United versus Swansea yesterday, this was pretty much how we lined up. I mean, obviously there was a little bit more movement, but this was pretty much how we lined up in the first half. And I'd even go as far as to push this further, because I think Swansea rectified their second half tactics quite well. But in the first half, they basically had 3 lines and it was all around here, and they sat back, and we benefited from that in the first half. But what we saw is Pogba took up this position more, out on the right-hand side. Pogba on the right-hand side. And that's why I think Pogba had a better game yesterday than he did against than he has done recently when it comes to Alexis Sanchez. Obviously, Matic holding the midfield. Lingard getting a lot of space in and around this position. And Mata, obviously, out on the right. But what that actually did, and the reason Alexis Sanchez had such a game yesterday, is when we've spoken in the past about Paul Pogba when he's playing in this position, this is the area that kills both Pogba and Sanchez because they both want to occupy that position. What we saw yesterday is Pogba was given more of that position from the right, which left Sanchez with all of this for himself, which is what he wants. He wants to come in here, he wants to come inside. Come in here with his right foot and be looking at balls like there and there. He doesn't want to be going down here because it's not natural for him to go on the left-hand side. Whereas Martial and Rashford prefer to just keep, even though they're both right-footed players, they will hug the touchline and move that position, which leaves the more central position available for Pogba to come in from the left. So what Mourinho did yesterday is he made Pogba more right-hand side to keep him out of the way of where Alexis Sanchez wants to come in. And surprise, surprise, it worked better for Manchester United. Whether that long term is good, that we're just again letting Sanchez, dictate how we work and move in another player. I mean, Rashford and Martial have gone to the bench because of him. Now Pogba's being moved to the right because of him. But it worked better for United. And one thing that Swansea made a big mistake with is that United were able to push right up the pitch because Swansea sat back in that first half and they didn't get tight on Lingard, they didn't get tight on Mata. Those two swapped really well. Sanchez had all this space, so they didn't really know how to deal with him. Nobody from midfield was coming into that area. And Lukaku benefited from the chances that were created for him, and it worked really well in the first half. What happened in the second half was we became Manchester United of most of this season. We definitely dropped at least 10 yards. Everybody dropped. Mata and Lingard and Sanchez and Lukaku, everybody dropped. Swansea went for it. And then what happened was, instead of the ball, I mean, one thing I liked, De Gea's probably in the wrong position, but when De Gea had free kicks or goal kicks, he was passing here and here and here and here and here. Instead of what it normally does is when Fellaini's on the pitch or McTominay or Matic, De Gea's hitting balls to here or here or here, long balls in the air for us to control. We were passing out from the back in the first half. Players were getting it, especially Lindelof, passing it, moving it, and then they're passing it quick, and we're moving, and fast movement of the ball. Second half, we couldn't really get it past this area. We didn't get it to Lingard, Sanchez, Lukaku. Mata was having to come very deep. And we got knocked back deep by Swansea, who started cutting through us. And the second half wasn't great. But I choose to take the first half as the most important part to what Manchester United did yesterday, because that's what we want to see from Manchester United. We want to see a more quicker movement of the ball on the ground. I mean, it's fantastic. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Jorginho was talking about in the week, I can only go and play for a club that keeps the ball on the ground, presses high up the pitch and moves the ball quickly. And a lot of people, myself included, well, that's counting us out. He's talking about Liverpool. But then you saw United in that first half yesterday, and that's exactly what we did do. We did move the ball quickly. Second half, tiredness, whatever. Mourinho came out himself and said it wasn't good enough in the second half. So I think we've got to agree that let's just take the positive from the first half. Second half, it tailed off, but there's definitely progress there, as I said. And the way we played in the first half, I was very happy. I was very content. I was watching that Manchester United team, and yes, there's one or two players in there that I wouldn't have, but actually that first half worked really well. And if that was in isolation, a team that we picked to beat Swansea at Old Trafford, I'd go, you know what? Against the bigger teams, maybe I wouldn't set up like that, but that's Swansea at home. That's utilisation of the squad. I'm very happy with that. Whether that is the first, I mean, I throw it to you. Is that starting 11 with Bale coming in for Lindelof or Smalling? That's, for me, is Mourinho's best 11 at the moment. Is that your best 11? Is that 11 good enough to beat Man City next week? Is it good enough to make us title contenders next season? No, I don't think it is. Would I change things around to make that better? Yes, I would. I think a midfield three of Matic, Herrera and Pogba is the way to go. And I think a front three of Lukaku, Sanchez and either Rashford or Martial is the way to go. I know that means Lingard and Mata come out, but ultimately I want the midfield to not get cut through like it did in the second half. You can't attack the big teams like we did in the first half yesterday. You've got to have a more balanced midfield. Pogba's got to be playing on the left, which means Sanchez has got to go to the right, and I'd put Martial or Rashford on the left. So I'd make two substitutions there, but that's my decision, isn't it? It's not Mourinho's. Mark didn't get notified. Well, apologies for that. Make sure you've got your notifications on. Please do drop a like on the video. Give us your thoughts as well, because it's obviously tactics, but also we're talking about the big news around Martial as well. Look, a lot of people said this yesterday, and I do agree with it. Alexis Sanchez came to Manchester United for the money. I didn't like admitting it in January, because it was obviously a bit of rivalry with Man City, because we were like, oh, he snubbed Pep for Manchester United. If the rumours are to be believed, he's on £200,000 a week more than any other player in the Premier League. It is ridiculous amounts of money, £500,000 a week. No, I think the next best player is Paul Pogba on £300,000 a week. So Sanchez is getting £200,000 a week more than any other player in the Premier League to play for Manchester United, if reports are believed to be true. And I think last week Alexis Sanchez came out himself and said, I'm proud to be the best paid player in the Premier League. So Alexis Sanchez is at Manchester United for the money, but he's not the only player at Manchester United for the money. He's 29, isn't he? 28, 29. And Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford are in their early 20s. One was bought very young. One came through our youth setup and is a local lad. They, for me, are on a curve of development that can make them world-class players. And they are what Manchester United's all about. Alexis Sanchez is what Jose Mourinho is all about. Short-term, buy it in, stick it in the team. And Alexis Sanchez, to be honest with you, has disrupted Rashford, Martial, Pogba. And I'll argue that with anybody. Does that make me feel comfortable? No. Is Alexis Sanchez a world-class player? Yes. What's best for Manchester United, I have to go with. But would I let Martial go this summer or be happy with it? No. Would I be happy with Martial going for Gareth Bale? No. Would I sign Gareth Bale? Potentially. Would I sign Gareth Bale for Anthony Martial leaving? No. Would I get Gareth Bale for David De Gea to go to Real Madrid? No. Would I pay any more than £50 million for Gareth Bale? No. Gareth Bale's 29 in the summer. He is injury prone, and he is yet another signing that is 29, coming towards the end of their career, a short-term buy. And we listened to Mourinho about, oh, I'm here for a long time. I'm here to create a legacy at Manchester United for the next manager. And all I actually see is loads and loads of players being signed for the short term, and that's not what Manchester United are about for me. And I'm only talking about my opinion here. Manchester United are not about that for me. Manchester United are about your Fosu Mensahs, your Twan Sebis, your Martials, your Pogbas, your Lukakus, your players ranging from 18 to 25 who you buy and you make them better, or you develop and you make them better. That's Manchester United for me. Manchester United isn't about your Matic, your Vidal, your Bale, your Sanchez, your people who've already gone and done it for another club who we buy in for the last couple of years to get them at their peak. I don't mind one or two players like that, but that's not the mentality I like. And I think we see that mentality more and more with Mourinho, and I crave for the one that I've grown up with, which is actually let's get them a bit younger and develop them and make them better. If Anthony Martial is allowed to leave Manchester United, I think it will be a disgrace. But ultimately, we've got a manager who must do what he thinks is right, and it will really, really hurt. But I saw Van Gaal, a manager I didn't think was right, sell Van Persie and still backed the manager. So it wouldn't be enough for me to sort of turn against Mourinho. I'd just be very disappointed in it, because I don't think it's what Manchester United are all about. It could flip. It could flip. We could see over the next few weeks that Manchester United will go a different way and Martial will get a chance. I don't know why he wasn't given 10 minutes yesterday. I don't know why. I didn't expect it, but I don't know why. I think Mourinho, I don't know Jose Mourinho. I just think he wants to do things his way. And when he makes his mind up about a player, that he moves them on. He's moved De Bruyne on. He's moved Salah on. He's moved Lukaku on in the past. There's everything to suggest that he wants to move Anthony Martial on, and I find it very, very difficult and very, very hard. But it looks like that. I mean, St. Columbo says if Martial leaves, it's all about Mourinho's ego. But in fairness, surely that's the way it should be. He's the manager of Manchester United. You can't have a situation where Mourinho fails and then he comes out afterwards, like they all do, like Moyes has, like Van Gaal has, and he says, I actually wanted to get rid of players, but I wasn't allowed to. He's got to be allowed to do what he wants to do. Whether we agree with what he does or not, it's another matter. But as I go back to this screen, I really do think that apart from Bailly coming in that position, or that position, and I think Bailey and Jones are his first choice centre-backs. That's his strongest team now. That is the team. And, you know, I think, well, where's Rashford? Where's Herrera? Where's Martial? That's 3 for you straight away. Where's Luke Shaw, some people might say? Why is Lindelof not starting? That's 5. But Herrera would be in that team for me. Rashford or Martial would be in there. I mean, I'm not saying Martial and Rashford both start. I think they did a really good job of hugging that touchline, and Pogba was in this position, and it worked really, really well. But we're accommodating. The reality is, I've put a big star next to him. Look, Alexis Sanchez is the star player. He's the best paid player in the team. He's the best paid player probably in Europe. We paid him ridiculous amounts of money. He is our star player. Alexis Sanchez is our star player. He's the player that we're building our team around. He's the player that we bought in to basically stick Martial and Rashford and turn them into bench players. Because where else do they play? They haven't got a position. They're not right midfielders. They're not going to play up front. So the reality is, when you look at it, Martial, he's not going to sell Rashford. Martial's got to be sold. I mean, that's what I was looking at this morning. I was like, is he going to sell Martial? Surely he wouldn't do that. But when you look at it like that, Martial and Rashford have played on the left wing. That's where they've played their best football for Manchester United. We've just bought a left winger and made him the best paid player in the world, probably. Massively paid more than anybody else in this league. And he plays on the left wing. And Mourinho has consistently played him on the left wing. You don't need it. There it is in black and white. You've bought somebody to come into a position where 2 players were doing really well. One of them's going to go in the summer. Because then they can't play on the right. They can't play up front because you've got Lukaku. They're not going to play on the right. It doesn't work for them there. They're left-sided players, and he's just bought somebody there and made them the best paid player in the world. That's the writing on the wall. Rashford's not going. I think Martial won't sign a new contract, and he'll go. And I had this argument with somebody last night about how, what I don't understand is how, well, some people were saying, well, you can't turn down signing Alexis Sanchez. Well, because what I was saying is, I'll never understand to this day, I was so excited about the signing of Alexis Sanchez, but I'll never understand to this day why Mourinho went and spent so much money, and I don't know how the board sanctioned this, how he got away with going to the board and saying, I want to spend $500,000 a week, 200 grand more than anybody else is ever paid in this league, on a left winger. Surely the board said, well, you've got Rashford and Martial there. Martial's won Player of the Month 3 times. Rashford's, you know, one of the best talents in the country. They're playing on the left wing and they're also changing, they're doing really well. Why should we go and then spend on another left winger, Jose? Surely you want to sort your midfield out, or maybe get a number 10 or a right midfielder or a backup striker or a left back. Surely we should be solving positions that need solving rather than replacing 2 players who've done really well. No, I want Sanchez and I want to pay him all this money. I'd never understood why we did that as a club. It makes no business sense. And also, you're improving a position that was already really good when our midfield's a disaster. It made no sense. I think a lot of people were excited about Alexis Sanchez signing because we thought he was going to play as a right midfielder or as a number 10, which is where we had problems. I'm flabbergasted that he's come in and been played on the left wing when the left wing was sorted. It was absolutely sorted. Pogba and Martial, Pogba and Rashford worked really well together. Sanchez comes in, Rashford and Martial, form goes off a cliff because they don't get picked. Pogba, form goes off a cliff. Sanchez takes weeks and weeks to get up to form. It makes no sense to me. And the money we've paid for it, it made no sense to me. But when I look at it, I think Martial will be sold this summer, and I think that's really sad. And it will take me a little bit of time to sort of get my head around, because I do feel very disappointed by it, because I do suspect he will go off and be world class. But that won't be the first time we've seen it with Salah and Kevin De Bruyne. So give us your thoughts. I mean, I want to be positive. I want to talk about as I said, the way we played in the first half yesterday. We can't. We've got to be very, very happy with it. It was Swansea. It was progress. We've got to see what happens next week. But the team he started with yesterday, especially that front 4, that's his team. I think he wants Mata, Lingard, Sanchez and Lukaku as his front 4, and Rashford is going to be the player who comes off the bench, as we saw yesterday. Martial, if I get any injuries between now and the end of the season, I'll give you a few minutes, but you're off in the summer. That's how I read it, and I hope I'm really wrong. I hope I'm really wrong, but Andre Guterres says it frustrates me. Naeem says moving Martial and Shaw and potentially Herrera and then Fellaini leaves while Carrick retires makes it very difficult to bring replacements in. Says, well, hopefully that's positive. And Gibbs McKimmon says, Martial needs to play a lot more. He is at an age where he will make mistakes and bad decisions. He is young and needs encouragement, not this treatment of Jose. And as I said at the start of the video, that's a very good point. Martial is going to make mistakes. He's a 22-year-old lad. Of course he's going to make mistakes. That's what it's all about. But it's not what Mourinho is all about. We're not Manchester United. We're Mourinho United. And Mourinho wants instant success. He doesn't want to develop. He doesn't want to encourage. He doesn't want to. Certainly doesn't want flair players that he's got to be patient with. He wants flair players that deliver, are consistent and are clinical. That is why we've seen Sanchez. That is why we're being heavily linked with Gareth Bale. If Gareth Bale signs for Manchester United, I will feel like we are walking away from what we're all about. It will just be another Galactico 29-year-old signing. Where's the excitement in the signing like that as well? Where is the excitement in a 29-year-old coming towards the end of their career? I mean, Alexis Sanchez was exciting, but actually we know he's only here for 2 years. We know he's only here for the money. What's exciting about that? Rashford playing for Manchester United down the left-hand side. A kid from the youth setup who could be here for 10, 15 years. Martial, a young lad in his 20s who we bought from Monaco and are turning into a world star and could be here for 10 years. That's exciting. I'm not excited by Bale. I'm not excited by Sanchez. I'm not. Not in the way that the younger players make me excited. But we've got a manager who likes short-termism. And we played very well yesterday. And let's hope that we play very well next week, because I want the positivity to continue. I want us to. The football is what matters. Manchester United is what matters, and I want us to continue down that route that we went down in the first half yesterday. And we're up for a big test against Man City. Anyway, we've got Sophie and Flex on tonight at 8 o'clock. We'll be getting their thoughts, all of yours as well. Just a very quick sort of Sunday tactics debrief and a little bit of talk about the Martial thing. Give us your thoughts below. There's very different opinions, as I know, and do give us your thoughts. Mate, don't forget to drop a like on the video before you go. 107 likes. I suppose we've got not that many people watching, but do drop a like on the video and make sure you give the fan cams a watch. Some really interesting opinions from the ground yesterday. A lot of people on the watch-alongs were saying, I'm not really happy with that performance. Second half, it was rubbish. And then you've got people at the ground saying exactly the same. Apparently, there was people booing at the ground yesterday. So make sure you watch those fan cams. Great work from Flex. I'll see you all at 8 o'clock tonight. Thanks for watching. Like if you want Martial to stay. I should have said that. Like if you want Martial to stay.